Welcome everyone to Deep Stories. Today we're going to read about Abaye. Abaye was the third generation of the Babylonian Amoraim. These are the people that we have the Talmud from, the Gemara. He was one of the most outstanding in his generation. He was born approximately in the year 4040, which is 280 of the Common Era, a little less than 2,000 years ago, about 1800 years ago. And he lived for 60 years. The last 13 years of his life, he headed the yeshiva of Pumbedita, which is in Babylon, in succession to Rabbi Yosef. He was one of 4 candidates for this high position. The other 3 were Rava, Rab Zera, and Rabba Bar Matana. All 4 were great scholars and men of outstanding qualities. They resolved to have a contest in the form of a Torah discussion to see who would be put in charge. Abaye came out on top, and all agreed that he was to be the head of the great Torah Academy. According to the famous Rav Shri Gaon, Abaye was not his personal name, but Nachmani, after his grandfather. His father's name was Chailil, passed away before Abaye was born, and his mother passed away in childbirth. So he was a little orphan who was brought up by his uncle, Rabba Bar Nachmani. Rabba, he didn't want to call his nephew Nachmani, which is his father's name. He called him Abaye, which means my father, like Abba. Another opinion says that Abaye was his personal name, and Rabba actually called him Nachmani. And a beautiful thing that it says Abaye is in Hebrew Aleph Bet Yud Yud. That stands, it's an acronym, Rashi Tevot, Asher Becha Yerucham Yatom. Through you, Abaye, all the orphans will be consoled, because they'll see how great you became, and they'll take consolation from that and say, even an orphan can become so great, so I can become so great. Rabba, the uncle, recognized in this orphan child great ability and a keen mind, and he did his best to develop his nephew's quality. Thanks to the care and devotion of his uncle, Abaye grew up to be a great and famous scholar. He also learned a great deal from Rabbi Yosef, who he said was the head of the Pumbedita Academy. Abaye really loved and revered him, and he would respectfully rise whenever he saw him approaching from the distance. Later on, as Abaye advanced in his learning, it was like he became a colleague and a disciple, and even debated his rabbi on points of law. Abaye also greatly respected his foster mother, who cared for him in his childhood with true motherly love. She must have been a wise woman, for Abaye often related her remarks and sayings. We don't know much of Abaye's personal life. It seems that he was quite poor. His widow asked the Beit Din, the court, to grant her a pension for bread and wine. They answered that as far as they knew, there was never any wine on Abaye's table. They were very humble people. No matter how great they were, they didn't mind living in a humble, simple way. Yet Abaye never wished to receive gifts, and only on Erev Yom Kippur he accepted gifts, as he was a Kohen, a descendant of the house of Eli, the high priest. Abaye was respected not only for his great learning and sharpness of mind, but also for his fine character. He was a peace-loving man, very friendly, and very modest in all his dealings with men. His noble character can be seen from his teaching and saying, which we find in the Talmud. He used to say, a man should always be alert in his fear of Hashem. A soft answer does away with anger. That's from King Solomon. Deal in a friendly manner with relatives and friends, and with all men. Even with a non-Jewish person, we should always have peace with people. In this way, one will be beloved by Hashem and admired by men and welcomed by all creatures. The commandment, and you shall love Hashem your God, was explained by Abaye in the following way. The name of Hashem should be made beloved by your actions. A person, so will see you, that you are a religious Jew or whatever it is, and say, wow, look how good he is. I love God now too, because I see this is what God is teaching, so God is beautiful. A person should learn the Torah and study the Talmud and wait on scholars, is another thing that Abaye said. What do people say about him? Happy is the father who taught him the Torah. See how good his ways are and how noble his actions are. Needless to say, Abaye practiced what he preached, and it's obvious why he was beloved and respected by all. Whenever Abaye would see an old man in the street, he would offer his arm to the old man for support. Even the Samaritans, who were usually not friendly to the Jews, respected and admired Abaye. Once when Abaye's donkey went astray and the Samaritans found it, Abaye sent a message, said, return the donkey to me, it's mine. They replied, give us some identification marks. Abaye said, it has a white belly. The Samaritans sent a donkey to him saying, if you were not Nachmani, we would not have returned the donkey to you. What kind of identification is this? Don't all donkeys have white bellies? But they liked him, so they returned it. Abaye, the childhood friend with whom he grew up and studied, who was Rava, another famous scholar. Rava later went to Mechoza and Nahardea to study, but they were almost inseparable in their discussions of various points of law. The Talmud is full of their teachings as they are quoted jointly in their names, such as Abaye and Rava both say. Or Abaye questioned Rava. I explained to Rava. Or Abaye and Rava differed in their opinions on such and such matter. The discussions of Abaye and Rava, as we say in the Aramaic, Abayot, the Abaye of Rava, became very famous. Yet despite Abaye's great position, sages decided that Rava's opinions are more valid than Abaye, except for 6 cases which are known to the yeshiva students as Ya'al Kagam. Those are the 6 cases that Abaye was right and not Rava. Here are some of Abaye's famous sayings. A child's talk in the street is a repetition of his father's or mother's talk. We should be very careful what we're saying in our house because our kids are going to repeat what we're saying. Woe to the wicked man and woe to his neighbor. Bad neighbors bring bad energy. It's quite clear, we see this. Another thing he said, desecration of the Shabbat was the very cause of the destruction of Jerusalem. Keeping Shabbat is such an important mitzvah. The sages declared that Abaye should have lived no more than his uncle Rabbah, both of whom descended from the house of Eli. There was a curse that they would die in the prime of their life due to their ancestors behaving in an improper way. But because Abaye spent all his time not only studying Torah but involved in acts of charity and kindness, he was made an exception and he lived more. He lived for 60 years and his teachings and good deeds live on forever. May God bless you all. Have a wonderful day.